Good afternoon. My name's Eric. I teach people how to make money passively by renting cars out to economy workers such as Uber drivers, Lyft drivers, things of that nature. And today I have a crazy story. Let me tell you how I had a renter blow an engine the first week I put a $12,000 car out to be rented out. So in this community, I teach people how to rent vehicles out, but when you're getting started, there's a strategic way that you want to rent cars out. When you get started, you don't want to put yourself in debt to a point where you're fighting from behind. You always want to give yourself a chance to succeed. I tell my students to always, rent cash cars out if you're trying to get started or you're trying to build something off of nothing. A lot of times people will go to the dealership and put $1,500 down on a $20,000 or $30,000 car, but they may be making the same amount of profit as somebody who has a $5,000 car. So what I tell people is to always start low and build off of something that is small startup costs and low risk. So, with this particular situation, I had a client that I sold a car, and he had a car that he wasn't typically driving. It was a 2016 Toyota Camry. With that Camry, it was a wonderful car, but we're renting these vehicles out to people who need vehicles to do Uber, DoorDash, things of that nature. And with that being said, a lot of these clients that we rent these vehicles out don't really have a lot of respect for the type of vehicles that we rent them. So we try and keep them in cash cars where if something goes bad or if an engine gets blown, we're not down $12,000 or $13,000. We can replace the engine for less than $1,000, or we can just sell the vehicle and recoup the majority of what we put into the vehicle. So 2016 Toyota Camry, I had a client, she was driving on 285. I get a phone call. Hey, Mr. Eric, the car's running hot, it's a noise coming from the engine. One thing that you want to tell your renters when they rent the vehicle out from you, let them know the rules before they get into the car. So let them know, hey, if there's, these are older cars that we're renting out to these clients. So you have to let them know, like, hey, if you have an oil change soon light come on, or you have a check engine light come on, give me a call immediately so we can get you switched out into another vehicle. You want to be as real to the client as possible because, something can happen, but it could be the difference from you changing a sensor or you changing an engine just based off the person renting the car, how they operate when something comes up. So with this particular person, she hit something underneath the car, which caused all the oil to leak out, and she continued to drive the car. I teach my students to let the customer know if something happens, call me immediately, because even them driving the car for an additional 5 to 10 minutes can ruin your engine. And, that's essentially money down the drain. So with this client, she continued to drive the car. I had her meet me at the shop, and that's when I realized there was no engine in the car. No oil in the engine. A tapping noise started to come from the engine, so essentially that engine was about to lock up. The customer that I rented the vehicle out had the nerve to say, hey, can I still rent the car from you? And I'm letting them know, look, you damaged the car, you continue to drive it, and, we're not able to rent you a car. I was able to get her an Uber home, but these are things that happen when you're renting cars out on a platform that you're giving somebody something that they probably never owned something that expensive in their life. That's the reason why they're renting a car from me. So I try and teach my students to keep the vehicles that they purchase in a certain range just in case something happens where they blow an engine or something happens to the vehicle that is far more expensive than what you're making from the vehicle and what the vehicle is worth. So, my name's Eric. I teach people how to make money passively renting vehicles out to economy workers. I also teach people how to get their dealer's license. If you want to learn more, comment the word learn, and see you on the other side. Peace.